I have a question for you. What do wild boars, good-looking guys, this beautiful goddess, and pearls have in common? Well, if you've seen my videos, you know that I find pearls in everything but mythology, big time. Today we're talking about Greek myth, forbidden love, tragic hunts, fate, and why Adonis may have been the first male model in pearls. Who's that? Well, stick with me and find out. Let's begin at sea level. I had to put that in there. We'll start with the goddess herself, Aphrodite, or as the Romans called her, Venus. This is the most famous image of Venus in the world, Botticelli's The Birth of Venus. I remember seeing this painting for the first time in the Uffizi in Florence when I was 19. I recognized it immediately and I thought, wow, I've seen that on t-shirts and posters, cool. But then I moved on, and later I returned to Florence when I was 25, but this time I stopped for a few minutes and I learned more. As the title suggests, this is the goddess Venus, being born of the sea, riding in on a scallop shell as the god of the winds that you see on the left blows her into the shore. She's being received and clothed by one of the minor Greek goddesses, probably representing the season's spring. But what does this have to do with pearls? And don't worry, we're going to get to the boars. Well, while the painting doesn't feature pearls directly, it's dripping with pearl symbolism. And did you know that Venus may have cried the very first pearls into existence? Did you know that a little bit of this guy, Adonis, the strong, silent, perfect, mortal man, the doomed heartthrob of mythology, may be in every pearl too? Two lovers, one fatal hunt. It's a story of beauty, love, obsession, fate, and the gem that symbolizes it all, the pearl. It all starts with the birth of Venus that we're witnessing here. In classical mythology, she's born from the sea foam, which is created when a particular body part of Uranus was severed and cast into the water. Her emergence symbolizing pure divine beauty and love. And upon this emergence, her tears of divine delight for this wonderful event and her own perfect form, her tears of joy dropped into the sea, landing in the open lips of oysters where they became pearls. So her arrival in a shell, it's a visual pun, a layered metaphor. Venus is the pearl. As you probably know, Venus is the goddess of love, beauty, sex, desire, all the good stuff. But let me introduce you to her man crush, Adonis. He was a mortal and considered to be the ideal male, the perfect specimen. So Venus, goddess of literally everything tempting, falls head over heels for him. He had a six-pack and a spear, but one fatal flaw, he loved to hunt wild boar, even more than he loved to hang out with the literal goddess of love. Red flag? Yes, but she was smitten. One day Adonis decided to go on a hunt, but Venus had a feeling that this particular one was a bad idea. She begged him not to go. Did he listen? Well, like a typical male with a spear and too much confidence, he ignored her. Sure enough, he gets gored by a boar and he dies in her arms. Now, back to the pearls. If you take a look at painting, sculpture, and art throughout the centuries, Venus is constantly depicted wearing pearls. Artists from the Renaissance through the Neoclassical era dressed her in pearls to emphasize sensuality, divine beauty, luxury, love. Look at Venus with a mirror. She wears pearls on her ears and in her hair. You'll also see pearls in the toilette of Venus. Like her pearls, her skin is luminous, and she wears them in her hair again as she pets her bird. And notice the cute little cherub down there playing with a strand of pearls. In this painting, Venus and Mars, pearls are again on Venus, the only thing on Venus, and again intentionally symbolizing her purity and her divine origin and femininity. Now back to the Uffizi in Florence. This renowned painting, generally accepted as Venus, depicts her again with a pearl earring, again nude, with soft, fair skin and red flowers, a sign of love. And notice her bed cushions are in crimson, falling in line with her personification of passion and inflamed desire. Now here's where it gets fascinating. While there's no direct evidence of Adonis wearing pearls in the classical art from Titian or Rubens, for example, later artists and storytellers began to play with this idea. This painting at the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston shows Adonis holding a spear, yet he looks inviting, soft, almost feminine. The artist, with certain intention, adds a prominent pearl earring to his right ear. A portrait of the same size by the same artist, by the way, hangs in the same gallery, depicting Venus, of course, in pearls. Pearls in this context do double duty. On Venus, they reinforce her divine origin and sensual femininity, while on Adonis, they become simply symbolic, perhaps representing the tears to be shed or his ephemeral beauty. During the Renaissance and well into the Baroque period, not just in art but in real life, noblemen across Europe wore single pearl earrings, pearl-encrusted garments, and elaborate pearl-studded accessories. One of the earliest and most striking examples, a 1580s portrait of Sir Walter Raleigh, who wore a long dangling pearl earring in his left ear, a direct symbol of status, elegance, and virility. Now, that fashion choice was later echoed by Charles I of England, who wore a pearl earring, and it became iconic. He even wore it into battle and to his own execution. This guy, George Villiers, was known as the fashionista of the royal court of King James I. What did he choose to wear to his portrait sitting? Well, pearls. He was probably also the one who got King Charles hooked on him. You can even trace the pearls owned by Pope Clement in the 1500s directly to the imperial crown worn by our own King Charles III. And that orb he's holding in his hand, it's called the Sovereign's Orb. Guess what? It's encrusted with 375 pearls. Pearls have now moved from goddess to mortal to monarch. So maybe it's not that Adonis wore pearls because artists saw him that way. Maybe artists began adorning men with pearls because the story of Adonis allowed them to do so. In the end, pearls weren't just for Venus. They were part of a broader visual language that linked beauty, obsession, love, fate. I wonder if Venus knew of Adonis's fate on that day that she was born. I wonder if those tears of joy that created the first pearls were also tears of longing for a future lost love. Could pearls be a visual metaphor for a love too pure for the mortal world? And that to me is the perfect way to close up this loop. It's not just a story about love and loss, but about the enduring ability of pearls to speak across gender, time, and art history. As long as love exists, it'll be represented by pearls. And this is why you'll always hear me say that pearls are the most interesting, important, and influential gems that the world has ever known. If this made you see pearls a little differently, then please subscribe. We have so much more to talk about. Because when it comes to pearls, I promise you there's always more beneath the surface. Thanks for watching.